This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Shalom Aleichem, good morning. Welcome to our viewers on Torah Anytime. I want to dedicate the shir for the Hatzlacha of Ben Zion Ben Dosa, him and his family, and for the Ilui Neshama of a dear friend, one of the congregants of our Kehila that passed away yesterday, Nesalin Ben Zion. A wonderful tzaddik. He was only 52 years old, left 10 children, battled Machla for many years and suffered unbelievable Yisurim. Mitzvah Hashem, his neshama should have an Alyiah, and he should be a Meritz Yosher for his entire family and for Klal Yisrael. Parashas Chukat, there was a pasuk that says, "V'taval b'mayim ish taho." It refers to Tefillah, going to the Mikve. So that leads us to ask a question. Many Hasidim go to the Mikve every single day. Is there an Indian to go to the Mikve every single day? It's nice. What does it say? Thou shalt go to the mikveh every single day.
Instead of a shower.
Can't hear you. Instead of a shower, you said? When it becomes an obligation, it's hard to say it's instead of a shower. What's that?
Where does it say to shower every day?
Where does it say to shower every day? Good question. It doesn't. You should go to the mikveh every day, so you don't need to shower. Make sure you don't do any activity that causes others to suspect you. We mentioned once from the Laptop-Sefer on that pasuk in Parshas Matos. Laptop-Sefer says that's the hardest mitzvah to fulfill in the entire Torah, and no one actually fulfills it to the fullest. That's the language of the Laptop-Sefer. So the person once came to the Belze Rebbe and said, "Rebbe, where do Hasidim get this from? They go every single day to Toivel. I looked in Shulchan Aruch, it's not there. I looked in the Poiskim, it's not there. Where'd I get it from? If it's in the Shas, in Shulchan Aruch, you have to do it, otherwise." The Belzer Rebbe said to him, "It's in the Shulchan Aruch." He said, "Rebbe, I went over the entire Shulchan Aruch twice. It's not there." He says to him, "Yes, it is." He says, "Where?" Shulchan Aruch Chaim Simen Taf Reish Vav Hilchos Yom Kippurim. The Shulchan Aruch writes that one should go to the mikveh Erev Yom Kippur. The Noisei Kelim explain why that is. Yom Kippur is a day of atonement for Klal Yisrael. As a preparation for that, you have to purify yourself. You go to the mikveh. So he explained to him, since Chasidim and Anshe Maaseh do tshuva every single day, you see a prerequisite for tshuva, for kapara, is tahara. You have to go and purify yourself. Memele every single day can be and should be like a mini Yom Kippur, a day of tshuva. You see from here a hechsher mitzvah, preparation for the mitzvah called tshuva, and kapara is going to the mikveh every single day. Shabbos Kuf Nun Gimel Amud Aleph. Rabbi Eliezer said to his talmidim, you gotta do tshuva one day before you die. Only one day before you die. And the talmidim say, Rebbe, does anyone know when he will leave? And Rabbi Eliezer says, that's exactly it. You don't know. No one has an insurance policy. No one has a contract with the Kodesh Baruch Hu, and therefore one does tshuva every single day. And if they do take him away, when they do take him away, it comes out that he lives here with purity. And therefore, that is the source for the Hasidim that go to the mikveh every single day, because every single day you do tshuva. If every single day you do tshuva, one day before that, you got to go to the mikveh, just like we do on Yom Kippur.
It's still about in the Shulchan Aruch.
Wait. I have a source before the Shulchan Aruch. Leket HaKemach HaChadash in Simenun Gimel, Ois Mem Vav, brings an unbelievable Or Zarua. Or Zarua is one of the Rishonim. That's before the Shulchan Aruch. And the Or Zarua brings Rav Shri Agon. That's before the Rishonim. So definitely before the Shulchan Aruch. Listen what the Or Zarua is quoting Rav Shri Agon and saying. Mamish unbelievable. One who killed somebody unintentional. Can we make him a Shliach Tzibur? He wants to be a Chazan. It's a great voice. We want him to be a chazan. He wants to be a chazan. Can he be a chazan? He killed. That's amazing. Unintentionally. Can he be a chazan? No. You're saying no. Rav Shri Agon says, one who killed b'mezid, we can't do anything today. I can't do anything. Our hands are tied. You don't have a Sanhedrin. You can't kill him. You can't beat him up. That's the language of the Rav Shri Agon. You can't send him away to exile. But you can mingle with him, and you can't daven with him, and you shouldn't look at him. Doesn't make a difference though. If he killed intentionally or unintentionally, says Reb Shira Gaon, As soon as he does tshuva, he is a complete righteous individual. Tzaddik gamu. Continues Rav Shira Gaon says, and anyone who committed any sin, it's as if he became tameh and tmemes. V'chen kibalti mimoiri, and this is a Kabbalah that I have from my Rebbe. This is a Gaon speaking, Rav Shira Gaon. Shekol Baal Tshuva Tzarich Tvila. Any person becomes a Baal Tshuva requires to go to the mikveh. Afilu Avar al Ese. Even if he only nullified a positive commandment. He didn't transgress a lotas, a negative one. He just didn't do a positive one. He has to go to the mikveh. O Zarua. Says Zaleket HaKemach HaChadash. You see from here is a source to those people who go to the mikveh every single day. Why? Because there's some aveiros that unfortunately most of us stumble on every single day. He gives some startling examples. The Gemara says in Babas Akuf Samech Daled that one, it's almost impossible to avoid Lashon Hara. The Gemara says, Lashon Hara? Everybody stumbles on Lashon Hara? Avak Lashon Hara. That's the negative commandment of Lo Telech Rachil Be'amecha. Here comes a big chiddush. Kriyat Shema in Tefillah, but without kavana. Okay, didn't have so much kavana. According to Sefer HaCharedim, that's a transgression of something that says in the Torah. The pasuk says Ule'ovdo with what? B'chol levavchem. That means you have to have real serious kavana. Says the Sefer HaCharedim, if one said Kriyat Shema in Tefillah without full kavana as it's supposed to be, he just transgressed a mitzvah eseh from the Torah, not to be believed. Continues Sefer HaCharedim and says, if one gets angry, can you promise me yesterday you didn't get angry for 1 second? 1 second. If one gets angry, he transgresses a negative love from the Torah. If that's the case, before you go to sleep, and there are other aveiros, he says, every person knows himself. Before you go to sleep, you're supposed to say, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I'm so sorry. Asharnu bagadnu chatanu. Mimele ya Baal Tshuva. And Reb Shira Gaon taught us that every Baal Tshuva, even if he only transgressed an asim, nullified an asim, requires a tefillah. Mimele every single day. Maybe that's what the Bezer Rebbe was intending to say. Maybe that was his kavanah. Mimele every person can be and should be a Baal Tshuva every single day. And a Baal Tshuva requires tefillah, and therefore they go to the mikveh every single day. But he continues and he says that the Or Zarua and Reb Shira Gaon are definitely not talking about people who are sitting in the mikveh for a long time and schmoozing and saying their Lashon Hara. That he calls it Toivel v'sheretz b'yado. He's holding the impure animal, he's going to the mikveh at the same time. What does it do? That doesn't help at all. But we have at least some kind of a source for those who go to the mikveh every single day. Miriam HaTzadekes dies in this parsha. How many people came to her funeral? How many people is that? The whole congregation. How many people? 600,000. Exactly? That's a round number or it's exact? 3,500. 3,500 or 603,000? 603,500. Exactly. You counted them?
I tried.
Everybody agrees, yeah?
That was just the men and the children. That was just the men, huh?
It's just the men. So women didn't come. Tzadekes is buried, the greatest Tzadekes. You have the water because of her for many, many years. But the women decide to stay home. What are they doing? Cooking, baking?
Maybe 3 million.
3 million. So before you counted them, you only got to 6,000, 3,500. But now you're saying 3 million. Everybody agrees? 3 million? It's a good number? More or less. It's not exact. Yalkut Shimoni. Rebbe's Taf Shin Pei Zayin. Easy to remember. In 2 years. Taf Shin Pei Zayin. Parshas Masei. Bo ure'eh. Come and see the honor and the praise of Aaron HaKohen, Aaron HaTzadik, that Kol Ba'ei Olam, anyone from the inhabitants of the world, were crying when he died, as the pasuk says, that who cried? Kol Beis Yisrael. When Moshe died, how many people cried? Not everybody. Kol Bnei Yisrael, not Kol Beis Yisrael. Because he used to rebuke people, so not everybody was crying when Moshe left. Aaron dies, everybody cries. Moshe, I don't know the number, but less. Moshe saw in the burial of Miriam that he is alone, and he started crying. Miyad haya yoshev uboiche, and he said, woe to me, oy li, shenotarti levadi. I'm by myself. When Miriam died, no one came from Klal Yisrael to the funeral. Only me, says Moshe about himself, Aaron and his sons. 2 of them already died. So how many people in the funeral? Moshe, Aaron, and his sons. 4 people. And we stood next to her bed, next to her coffin, and we cried for her, and we eulogized her, and we buried her. So you're actually exact. 3 million minus 2,909,000. You do the math. 4 people came to your funeral. Where are they? What's wrong with you? The greatest tzaddikus in the world. That you're drinking water because of her. And the water in the world of Miriam was just water. Just like the man, you can think about any beverage that you want, including wine. And you can turn it in your machshava to that beverage. So you're drinking because of her. She's the greatest tzaddikus. I have other things to do now. Yes. We once asked, how did they have wine to do Kiddush on Shabbos? One of the answers is that. Big pelle. Comes Laptop-Sefer and makes a positive spin on things. Klal Yisrael really wanted to come. But they wanted the well of Miriam to retain this name. This is the well of Miriam. How are we going to do that? You know what? We're not going to go to a funeral. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to have to give us back water. He doesn't want all of us to die. So Mimele is going to have to bring us back water, and it's going to be because of Miriam. This way it will be able to always be called the water of Miriam. So they didn't come for a reason. In order to honor Miriam, they didn't come. A big Kiddush.
So how do they call it? The Be'er, or they said Mayim?
It's the Be'er of Miriam. It's the well of Miriam. We don't want to just call it, it used to be the Be'er of Miriam, now it's just the Be'er, just water. No, we're going to force the Kodesh Baruch Hu to give us back water. It's only because of it, because we're not coming. Mimele, it's going to be called forever. It's going to be known as the Be'er of Miriam.
It's like opposite way of logic. Totally opposite. I would think the more people that went there would show the fact, HaKadosh Baruch Hu sees the fact that so many people are coming, and there's, so I'll continue.
But now we'll continue giving you water, nothing to do with Miriam, just because you're a lot of people. I owe you. You're my people. They forced HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Laptop-Sefer with a positive spin. Why was Moshe Rabbeinu punished that he cannot come into the land? Pashut, the answer is, he hit the rock. If it was so simple, would I ask this? No. You're rebels! That's what he called him. If you look at the Or HaChaim HaKodesh, he brings 10 different answers from the Rishonim, and he challenges each one of them. He doesn't like them, and he comes up with his own. But, and I think last year or 2 years ago we mentioned a different idea, now something new. From the Ran, Droshos Haran, that carries a lot of weight, one of the Rishonim. And in Drushtes, he says a remarkable thing. We know Tshuva works for everything. Tshuva atones for everything. Yuma Pei Pei Vav, we learn that Tshuva works. It's so strong. Even for intentional sins, it can actually transform them. Not only erases it, it transforms it to mitzvahs. So you see Moshe davens, and davens again, and again and again, 515 times. Obviously, he hit, banged on his chest very, very strong. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, forgive me. He did tshuva. He asked forgiveness. So why doesn't HaKadosh Baruch Hu forgive him? And if you'll say, says the Ran, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is very strict with his tzaddikim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is medaktik with tzaddikim, kechut osara. But that just means that a small sin of theirs, of the tzaddikim, is viewed like a big sin of regular people. But even for a big sin of regular people, tshuva works. So for a small sin of the tzaddikim, tshuva won't work. So why wasn't he able to come in?
It wouldn't look right.
What did he do? Did he kill someone?
It wouldn't look right for the people. Everybody dies and the money goes in. It would be like a chas v'shalom,
Why didn't you learn from the money? Why didn't you look at the leader and learn from him how to act?
That's so simple. Why didn't he teach you?
The Gemara says the reverse of what you're saying. The Gemara says it's impossible that the Talmidim will go to Gan Eden and the Rebbe will be in Gehenna. But the reverse can be. If the Talmid didn't pick up from his Rebbe, it's not the Rebbe's fault. Says the Ran, an unbelievable thing. Tshuva really works for everything when it's between you and HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But when your sin involves some kind of a damage to your friends, tshuva cannot erase it. And when he said, Shimuna Amorim, listen, you rebels! Calling Klal Yisrael rebels? It's a bizayon for Klal Yisrael. That tshuva doesn't erase. So again, why is it that he didn't enter Eretz Yisrael? Not because he hit the rock. Do tshuva for that when it's erased. But you're calling Klal Yisrael rebels? You're embarrassing the children of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That your tshuva won't work for.
So what was Aaron saying? He was there also.
Aaron was punished that he didn't protest. And when you don't protest, you are caught in the sin as if you did it.
He had to protest.
Huh? Protesting is a mitzvah d'oraisa. The Gemara in Shabbos says, one who sees somebody else sinning, and he has the koyach to protest and he doesn't, he is charged as if he himself did it. And if he has the koyach to protest the entire city and he doesn't, he is blamed for the entire city's sins. And if he has a koyach to rebuke the entire world and he doesn't, he is caught in their sins. Protesting is the mitzvah d'oraisa. Egel Azav is a avera between us and the Kodesh Baruch Hu. You do tshuva for that, it's erased. But when you say derogatory things about Klal Yisrael, Kodesh Baruch Hu says, psh, you're mezalzel in the honor of Klal Yisrael. That's what the Ran says. It's mamish unbelievable. And the Ran says, this wasn't the main part of his sin. The main part of his sin is you didn't do what I told you. You hit the rock. I told you to speak to it. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu really should have forgiven him for that part. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted to teach all of us a lesson. That everybody should be machmir, not to be mezalzel in the honor of the tzibur. So why is it Moshe Rabbeinu was punished? Because he was a mezalzel in the honor of Klal Yisrael. Nafkamina to us, some people are very careful not to speak Lashon Hara. Baruch Hashem. They don't say anything negative about their friends. But on a tzibur, on a Klal Yisrael, on a group of people from Klal Yisrael, look, and they explain exactly, they describe the negative character traits, a certain quality of people who live in a certain country, or people of an ethnic group of whatever it is. Oh, that's fine. You see, for me, that's the reason Moshe wasn't allowed to come in, and for that HaKadosh Baruch Hu was not willing to forgive. And more than that, when you say that about Klal Yisrael and you describe a certain character trait that they have, you basically are disconnecting yourself from the group. I am no longer associated with them, which means now you're going to have to try and somehow take care of yourself, because you just lost the koyach hatzibur that always comes to protect you. And the opposite, if you only say good things about Klal Yisrael, now you have the koyach hatzibur. Baruch Daf Ches, Chazal say that Kodesh Baruch Hu never rejects the koyach hatzibur. You're part of the community, and the tzibur has much more koyach than a lot of individuals. So chas v'sholom, how careful we have to be not to degrade the honor of Klal Yisrael.
Even if that group is Rashad?
Not talking about Rashayim. We're talking about a certain ethnic group or people who live in a certain country. They are very, and you say, people here are very, they're not Rashayim, but they have a certain character traits that I really don't like. Lashon Hara.
They're all left-handed.
And that's not a negative character trait. They all are this and this height. That's not a negative character trait. They are very... Oh, shh. You can't say. They are very... They get angry fast. They're liars. They're cheaters. They are... There's no shortage of words that you can find to describe certain ethnic groups that you don't like or you don't associate with, or they're chutzpahdik. People in certain... They're very chutzpahdik. They don't have patience. It's worse than saying a lashon hara about an individual, because it's multiplied by all the amount of people who are in that group. It's much worse.
Remember that was a Gemara where certain Amora came to a city in Babel, and he expected them to help him with, business or something like that, sustenance, and they didn't give him anything, they didn't give him any help. And he said these people from the Erev Rav.
Mistama Yaduach HaKodesh, he was able to know that. If they really are from Erev Rav, there's no problem.
But also you find a lot of the Nevi'im, they say very strong criticism.
The words of HaKodesh Baruch Hu are in their mouth. They're prophesizing if they're Nevi'im. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is allowed to say whatever he wants. Riddle of the week. Maybe we're going to have a few more. There is a lady mentioned in the Torah in a few places. Her name is Mrs. Acharcheil. Who is it? Acharcheil. A lady mentioned in a few places in the Torah. Acharcheil. Now, she's not mentioned in this name, but this is one of her names. Aleph Ches Reish Ches Lamed. It's a pasuk in Divrei Yamim. Anyone? Incorrect answer. You have heard of her many times. Even in this year.
Miriam.
Shmois Rabba. Darsha Aleph Ois Yuzayin. Based on a pasuk in Divrei Yamim. Says the Gemara, says the Medrash, Acharchel Zu Miriam. And why is she called Acharchel? But Tetzena Kol Hanashim Achareha, they all followed her, so she is called Acharchel. Chiddush. Yeah, she has a few names. Efrat is also one of her names. Azuva. Vayavo bnei Yisrael kol ha'eda. Midbar tzin b'chodesh harishon klal Yisrael kam. The first month. Vayeshev ha'am bekadesh v'tamos sham Miriam. Miriam dies. Vatikaver sham, and she's buried there. And klal Yisrael didn't have any water. V'lo haya mayim la'eda. So they went to Moshe and Aaron. So we know the water comes for the merit of Miriam. But the Toldos Yitzchak, that's the uncle of Maran the Beis Yosef, Shulchan Aruch. He wants to know, why is it that the Torah tells us right after she dies, by the way, there's no water? What's the connection? Says the Toldos Yitzchak. What's the midah keneged midah? There's no water. Why didn't you guys cry? The pasuk says how Klal Yisrael cried for Aaron, for Moshe. Everybody's crying. Miriam, it doesn't say a word. How come they didn't cry? The biggest of biggest. And you have water for her. So because they didn't shed tears, they didn't have drops coming out of their eyes, they're not going to have other drops coming from above. Water keneged water, tears for tears, drops for drops. Midah keneged midah. You kept your tears inside, you're not going to have water to drink.
It's very hard to understand. I would see the women really crying for her. I mean, they could be.
I would also see it if the Torah would write it. Since the Torah didn't write it, apparently they didn't cry. You see that nobody came for the funeral. With great calculations, according to the Laptop-Sefer, but nobody in the Maaseh came. And that told us, it's like, they didn't cry. You didn't cry? You're not going to have what to drink. Moisture for moisture, water for water, beverage for beverage.
At what point did the Bnei Israel know in advance that the parents of Miriam, the Anna, the cover was from Aaron, the mud was from
Let's say they didn't know the weather for the merit of Miriam. I don't know if they knew or not, Mistama, because they were Nevi'im there. But let's say they didn't know. The greatest tzaddikus dies and you don't cry? What's wrong with you? Without anything to do with the water that's coming because of it. You see a tzaddikus. How come you're not crying? There's a Gemara in Shabbos Kufay Amud Beis. The Gemara says one who does not cry over an Adam Kasher that dies, Kodesh boy, very harsh the language over there. You must cry when a person dies. A Kasher, tzaddik. Rashi brings in this pasuk, Vatamos Sham Miriam died. Why is it the juxtaposition between Miriam's death and Paraduma? What's the connection? To tell you, the Misa of Tzaddikim, the death of Tzaddikim atones just like the Paraduma. What's the connection? More than that. If you want to teach me a lesson, you should know the death of Tzaddikim atones. So why do you dafka go to a Tzaddikis? Why do we have to learn it dafka from a female, from a lady? She's a great Tzaddikis, but there's many Tzaddikim before her that died. So teach me this idea that the death of tzaddikim atone from a man. What does it have to be from a woman? And what's up with the atonement coming through Paraduma? Paraduma is not exactly a korban like all other korbanos. It's not shechted in Beis Hamikdash, and there are many other differences between Paraduma to the other korbanos. And you're saying it provides atonement for Klal Yisrael. How does that work? So some explain. When Adam Gadol dies, a big tzaddik, everybody feels it. He had thousands of Talmidim. He spread Torah, he disseminated it all over the world. He traveled from place to place. bringing people back. He had a gmach here and a gmach there. He was involved in a million things. Everybody feels his loss and everybody cries. When a great tzaddikus dies, what do people say? She was such a good mother. Her chocolate chip cookies, it was nothing like it. She took care of everybody. She gave them food. She was such a good, dedicated wife and a committed mother. But people from the outside circle around the family, they don't feel it. They don't feel it. But the truth is that the only reason you had the Adam Gadol or the successful kids is because of her. She's the mamid. She's everything. If it wasn't for her, her great husband, he would have been in the kitchen cooking and baking. He would have to clean. He wouldn't have time to be the Adam Gadol that he is. So it's only because of her. Why are kids so successful? They became great Rashi Yeshivas or whatever they are. It's only because of her. She is the mamid of all the tzaddikim in Klal Yisrael. All the Torah, all the Masorah, it all goes through the woman. Similarly, the paraduma, it's not your regular korban. But this is the machshir. This is the mamid of all other korbanos, because this allows you to become pure, and now you can go to Beis HaMikdash and do all the other korbanos that provide kapara and tahara for Klal Yisrael. So that's a similarity between the paraduma and the death of a woman, a tzaddikus, because they are both the mamid of the tahara, the sanctity of Klal Yisrael. That's why we learn this idea, this concept that Misas Tzaddikim atones, just like paraduma, that's from a tzaddikis and not from a tzaddik, because she is very similar to the paraduma. She is the mamid of everything, all the kedusha in Klal Yisrael. We said before that when Aaron died, Klal Yisrael cried. Shabbos Kufei Amud Beis, the Gemara says, when one cries over an Adam Kasher, HaKadosh Baruch Hu counts the tears and he puts them in his safe deposit. He puts them in a special place, in a storage house. Why? Normally when a person cries, the first thing he wants to do is to wash it off. He takes a tissue or something, people may see. You don't keep the tears. Why does the HaKadosh Baruch Hu keep the tears? Normally, people understand the pshat is, after a person's 120, when he goes upstairs, they'll show him, look, you cried for this person, you cried for this person. They're going to show him the maila that he achieved, because he was right in doing so. He was supposed to cry and he did. Look what a tzaddik you were. That's the normal understanding, the pshat. But some say differently. You go to a levaya of an Adam Kasher, an Adam tzaddik, and you hear, what praises, how he conducted his life. And you're so inspired. And you say, you know what? I'm going to try to copy some things that I hear. It's such amazing ideas. Maybe I won't be able to do everything. Well, I'll try to copy a few of his midas. I'll take upon myself to become a little better here, and you cry. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, that's great. Let's see how long it lasts. So you know what? I'm going to keep those tears, the tears of excitement, the tears that you said, I'm going to change. And let's see 2 weeks later if you're in the same place or you just went back to exactly the same where you were 2 weeks ago. That's why HaKadosh Baruch Hu keeps those tears to see if they're really not sincere. The time you cried, it was really sincere. But what are you going to do with them? So HaKadosh Baruch Hu keeps him. He keeps him. And he says, these are the tears that came with a promise. I will do X, Y, Z. Let's see in 2 weeks from now. Let's see in a month from now if you really change. Because the idea is to be moved and to do something with it. Not just to be moved, to cry, go back home and everything is back to normal. Riddle, before it was an easy one. It's a tough one. How can it be? A gabbai in shul comes over and he wants to give an Alyiah, the Talmid Chochem who came to town to visit. He's in the shul, big Talmid Chochem. And he comes over, he says, what's your name? I'm going to give you an Alyiah. How with you? So, Shkoyach. My name is, I'm not giving you an Alyiah with that name. It's a name of an Adam Kasher. It's a name of an Adam Tzaddik. It's not a name of a Rasha. And this Talmid Chochem says to him, but last week I was in my shul, and they gave me an Alyiah, and the Gabbai had no problem. Also, the Rav of town didn't have any problem with my name. He says, yeah, I'm not going to give you an Alyiah with that price. I'm not giving you an Alyiah with that name. Can it be? What's that? No. The name. Not your halachic status, Kohen Levi Yisrael. Your name. I have a problem with your name. But it's the name of a tzaddik. I don't give an Alyiah. Sorry. But last week I got an Alyiah with the same name. I didn't change my name this week. Nope. Not here. Can it be? 3 points, so it's a tough riddle. Impossible. You don't like the Gabbai.
It's not impossible, I know you know the answer.
You don't like the Gabbai.
Does the Gabbai have the right to not give the lead because it's a personal thing. Supposed to,
That depends on the answer we're going to give. We'll see if he has the right.
Maybe the name was May Mariva.
A name of a tzaddik that you all know.
Maybe tell the person,
Name of Moshe. Your name's Moshe. I'll give you an Aliyah. What's up with that?
maybe tell the person before it's the same name.
So what? What if the Kohen was Moshe ben Chaim, Ganaliyah. Levi was Moshe ben Gavriel. The Israel Shlishi was Moshe ben Yechizkiyahu. Moshe ben Yirmiyahu was Revi. Everybody's Moshe. Well, what's the problem?
Probably the father's name is the same also.
What is the problem with a get? I'm not giving a get here. What's the difference?
Could be. I don't know if it's true, but I know that there's. I think it's the father can't get an aliyah after the son.
A father and a son don't get an Aliyah, but that's because of Ayin Hara, not because of your name.
So maybe the name is the next guy is
So we point to him and say, you, Moshe ben Chaim, not you, Moshe ben Chaim. And he gets up and everybody realizes it's not the father of the kid that went up before. It's no problem. It's because of the name. First name. I don't like your name for this purpose. I like your name. It's the name of a tzaddik, a Moshe. Aaron. Can't get an Aliyah here with this name.
Maybe it was is it Taman Shul and the name was Ezra? Because Ezra wanted them all to come up.
Moshe is Ezra?
No.
Yemenite, Ashkenazi, Sephardi, Italian, Breslev, Hasidish, you name it.
No, there was a group at the time of the...
You name it. Ashkenazi, Litvish, whatever you want.
Because
he has a woman's name.
Moshe is a woman's name?
No, maybe it's a tzaddik.
Moshe!
No, it's tzaddik.
Moshe! Aaron! You have a problem with the name Aaron? You better not, because that's my name. I know. But you were not giving, you didn't decide, you didn't. Ravoisai Achidish from the land of Chidushim. Sefer Chasidim in Simen Taf Shin Samech Ches. 17 years ago, Taf Shin Samech Ches. A remarkable thing. And the Magen Avraham decided to quote him La Halacha in the end of Simen Kuf Lamed Ches, in Chizuk Torah and Shulchan Aruch Chaim. And the Sefer Hasidim says, if somebody has some kind of a blemish, don't call him up when the Torah describes those blemishes. There's many blemishes in Parshas Emo, in the Parsha of Negaim, Tazriya, Metzoira. You see the person has the same thing. And the Baal Koyre is going to read now what he has. It's making fun of him. That's embarrassment. Don't call him up for that. Good. He also gives a general instruction, not regarding Aliyah Torah. The Sefer Hasidim says, if you're speaking to a friend, don't look at his blemish when you're talking to him, because he feels it. He knows what you're doing. And it's very embarrassing. He also says, don't talk to your friend about the blemish that he has. Have sensitivity. You all know the Pele Yoetz. The Pele Yoetz has a sefer called Ya'al Zu Chasidim. That is his Hagaros on Sefer Chasidim. And he takes it a step forward. And he addresses our Shaila. And Sefer Chasidim says, in our Parasha, and that's why we're bringing it here, don't call a person by the name of Aaron to the Aliyah LaTorah where the Pasuk says, Ye'asef Aaron el Amav, Aaron should die. You're going to call him Aaron when you're going to say, Aaron should die. The wild player is going to look at him. No, not you. Imagine how, what embarrassment. He continues and he says, don't call him Moshe when the Torah discusses Moshe's death. So we don't have a problem with Moshe. We like the name Moshe. But at this specific Aliyah, sorry, I can't give you an Aliyah even though you got 15 Aliyahs last week. You're not going to get an Aliyah here. Does he have the right to do it? Yes. He has the Ya'al Zu Chasidim who told him, I'm not allowed to. I'm going to give you the next Aliyah. This Aliyah I can't give you. Chiddush. But this Chiddush comes with two questions.
It's not a blemish. It's
not a blemish. It's like in Pashas, the Toichechos, in Bechu Koisai and Kisavoy. The minhag is not to give stam, a regular person from the shul Aliyah. Because maybe the Baal Koyre is thinking about, to me, at the time that he reads all these curses, Maybe in fact he is, because he doesn't like it. So the minhag in most places is the Baal Koire gets the Aliyah, or the Rav. Hopefully everybody likes the Rav in this place. Most of the time it's the Baal Koire, in most places. But based on this, Yalzu Hasidim, we should ask two questions. So we also shouldn't call an Avraham when Avraham Avinu dies, a Yitzchak when Yitzchak Avinu dies, a Yaakov. We never heard of such a thing. Never heard of a Kpeda like this. No Gabbai know this. It's not in a Gabbai's handbook. Oh, don't call Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov when they die. More than that. Chashan Torah. The end of Vezois Bracha. So if your name is Rabbi Moshe, you can get, normally you give a, we always say, Rabbanim, great people, by the name of Moshe, they do get Chassan Torah. The Yalzu Hasidim says you can't. How is it possible?
Maybe it's because Aaron died such a beautiful way. Nobody else could die that way.
So that's a beautiful thing, it's a blessing.
But nobody else could die the way Aaron died.
So Lichoira, the diuk is, here it says in a future tense, Ye'asef Aaron el Amav. When you say that to a person next to you, Aaron should die, Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov, the Torah tells us how they died. That's a story about something that happened in the past. There's no problem to call Avram, Moshe, and Yaakov, and Yitzchak, no problem. Moshe in Vezois Bracha, it's not a problem of Busha. The whole thing here comes from a Busha. That's what Sefer Hasidim explains. So when you give the most honorable Aliyah, called Chassan Torah, there's no problem. But more than that, at the end, when Moshe Rabbeinu dies, that's a story like Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, how he died. But when the Torah says, Umus, go up there and die, that Aliyah maybe you shouldn't give to Moshe. A person by the name of a Moshe. But Chassan Torah, which is the most honorable thing, the person pays a lot of money, many times, a lot of money to acquire that. There's no busha involved, and therefore that's the reason we see many Moshes do get a Chassan Torah, and it's not a problem with this Yalzu Hasidim.
I mean, officially, people don't really, I don't know, people don't associate with the Aliyah and exactly what's written inside there to the person who gets the Aliyah. Good.
So challenge the Yalzu Hasidim who decided they may. Or the person himself. You're making fun of me. One person, you need only one person to repeat after the Baal Koire, Ya'asef Aaron Elamav, the person who doesn't like him. And when he comes, he gets off the beam and says to him, I wonder if we're going to see you next week. Now, boys say, what's the greatest sin that one can be involved in? The greatest sin. Gravest sin. Wow. Chilul Hashem. I also thought like that. That's not the answer. Cursing is worse than avodah zarah. Cursing is worse than being a serial murderer. Killing 30, 40 people, cursing. Ooh. Three cardinals. I already mentioned two. Avodah zarah and You're saying also morality is up there. He's saying cursing is worse. Is it? What's that? Lashon hara. Yom Adavtes Amud Beis. Worse. Worse than the three cardinal sins. Worse than Lashon hara. Worse than Chilul Hashem. Can it be? Navi Sheker Chayav Misa. Is it worse than Avodah Zarah? Why is it so bad? It's bad. It's worse than Avodah Zarah. Sit tight. Put your seatbelts on for this. You're not going to believe it. Machti the Rabbi. Oof. Something worse. Rabbi Yonis and Eibshitz. Not to be believed. Tiferes Yonasan. He wants to know. Vayomer Hashem el Moshe. Go tell the people. Ye'asef Aaron el Amav. Aaron is going to die. That's the Yonis and Eibshitz. Why does the Kodesh Baruch have to publicize? What's the Indian to make sure everybody knows Aaron is about to die? Aaron is about to die. Take him to Yeshiva Shel Mara and then tell the people, by the way, I have terrible news to tell you. Aaron Akoin is no longer here with us. Publicize. All people should know he is going to die. What do you want to embarrass him? Asher of Tiferes Yonasan. The reason HaKadosh Baruch Hu publicized it. Everybody in Klal Yisrael should know. In order for them to daven for Aaron that he shouldn't die. That the decree that he is no longer here should be cancelled. He should stay with us. He should have longevity. And Klal Yisrael didn't do this. They didn't daven for him. Listen to a language I'm quoting you. You're not going to believe this. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is mis'ave litfilasam shel tzadikim. HaKadosh Baruch Hu desires the prayer of his tzadikim to daven for Aaron at that time leharbos b'tfilah. Daven alat ubechi, cry sheyarich yamav, and he should have longevity. Ve'hem bitlu retzoinoi. Klal Yisrael didn't do HaKadosh Baruch Hu's will. Ve'lo asu ha'mechuva, and they didn't do HaKadosh Baruch Hu's intention that they should daven. Ela rak achrei misas Aaron, only after his demise, vayivku kol bnei Yisrael, and they started crying. Says Rabbi Yonasan Eibshitz, ve'ein chet godol mizeh. There is no greater sin than that. Mibli lispalel al tzaddik? You're not davening for the tzaddik lebal yamus ulevatel agzeira me'atzadik? It seems that when we have tzaddikim around us, and we always have tzaddikim around us, we should daven for their longevity and their welfare, and chas v'sholom, any bad decree that's upon them should be cancelled. If not, you're involved in the greatest sin possible. It's unbelievable. In Shmoneh Esrei, we daven for them every single day. In what bracha? Ala tzaddikim. Reb Chaim Kanievsky says somewhere else, we say, Ve'ruach kodshecha al tikach mimenu. You have Ruach HaKodesh? What are you so arrogant to tap yourself? Kodesh Baruch Hu, don't take away my Ruach HaKodesh. Really? You have Ruach HaKodesh? Ve'ruach kodshecha al tikach mimenu. When was the last time you used your Ruach HaKodesh? Can you prove to me you have Ruach HaKodesh? Says Reb Chaim Kanievsky, that's not a tefillah for you. It's a tefillah for the tzaddikim among us that have Ruach HaKodesh. Don't take them, the tzaddikim, away from us. So you daven for their welfare. So the greatest sin, according to Rabbi Yonasan Eibshitz, to be involved in is not to daven for the welfare of tzaddikim. Mamish amazing. Klal Yisrael were traveling in the desert for 40 years. How many unintentional killers were in Klal Yisrael during that time? It's 40 years. 1, 10, 500. Sometimes things happen. They drove not so carefully. What's that? None. And who told you that? Where does the Gemara say this? What does it say exactly?
Even they didn't need an Arabic plan, nonetheless, still, Moshe wanted to do the mitzvah.
I'm stuck still in the Torah. Where does the Torah say this? Is he correct? 40 years, not even one unintentional killer? Comes the Meshech Chochmah and says there were no unintentional killers in the desert, not because of a Gemoreh, because the Torah. The Torah says that Klal Yisrael cried when Moshe died. Klal Yisrael, how is it possible? If there's unintentional killers, they are finally released from their city of refuge. What's that? When Aaron dies, is it Moshe? I'm sorry. When Aaron HaKohen dies, Klal Yisrael cried for him. How is it possible? If they're unintentional killers when the Kohen HaGadol dies, so they're finally released. They should be elated, jumping out of joy, dancing. They and their families. Baruch Hashem, we got our kid back. He proves from here that there were no unintentional killers for 40 years in the desert. A chiddush. I don't really understand this chiddush. Who said there weren't any unintentional killers before and they died already? Before Aaron HaKohen died. How does this prove that there were no unintentional killers? I don't know. I asked this shaila to Mori Rabbi Victor Nebenzahl Shlita once, and he said, you're right, enachinami. And if it wasn't for the words of the Meshech Chochmah, we would say something else. The Torah praises Klal Yisrael, even the unintentional killers and their families were happy. I'm sorry, even though they were happy that they were released, but they were crying and mourning for Aaron HaKohen's loss. They were tzaddikim. He was an unintentional killer. He sat there, did tshuva. And now Aaron HaKohen dies. He walks. He goes back home. But he's still crying for Aaron HaKohen. So it's not a proof necessarily, but we have a Meshech Chochmah that decided differently.
But maybe he cried for another reason. The family of the one who died before, they cried because why couldn't he die before it if he would have come?
Klal Yisrael come to Eretz Yisrael. They have to pass through different places. They have to pass.
Why can't we say that the law about potential killers only applied when they entered Eretz Yisrael? That's when they were commanded to set up the Mikve. So before then, there was no such thing. So no one was imprisoned. They wouldn't have come out.
Because in Parshas Maseh, it's before they came into Tzon. HaKadosh Baruch Hu already talks about Arei Miklat.
Because that came into effect when they went into Eretz Yisrael, no?
Moshe was quick, the Gemara says, to do this, even though it can't be complete until many years later. They're going to come into the soil and erect another 3. But Moshe said, I have a half a mitzvah, I'll do half a mitzvah. I have 3 out of 6, also good.
That was the start of the 40 years.
I don't know when.
But Moshe knew they weren't in it yet.
What's that?
He assigned the cities, but it wasn't wasn't practical.
Moshe said, whatever I can do, I can do. Meshech Chochmah is medayik from here, you weren't. And even if you didn't have, at the beginning at least, a bona fide city of refuge, you have to separate these unintentional killers. You see from the Torah that these have to be removed from the camp. They have to be separated, put them in a different place. You see there was no such thing. Klal Yisrael come to Eretz Yisrael, but before that they have to go through Melech Edom. We're going to pass through your country. They have to go through Melech Heshbon. They have to go through Og Melech Habashan. The Torah is eternal. What's the message for us? This happened many years ago. Fine. So they have to go through all kinds of different countries and fight with different kings. What does it mean to us? Perhaps it's a message here. One wants to make Aliyah. Melech Edom. Edom is the same letters as Me'od. And every single day in Shema we say, you should love HaKadosh Baruch Hu. V'chol levavcha v'chol nafshecha. What is v'chol me'odecha? The Gemara in Baruch says me'odecha is mammon, with all your money. You have to be willing to part with your money for the sake of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You want to do a mitzvah called making Aliyah? You want to come to Eretz Yisrael? You can't be thinking about money. It could be, but you used to earn more back where you come from. Sometimes there is more parnasa in different places. But one must know that money is klum. What do I mean that it's klum? There was a guy who once came to Reb Shteiman Zatzal. And he told him, you know, my father, at the age of 50, just dropped it all, decided to leave everything. He had a very prestige career, very, very successful, honor, fame, tons of money. And at the age of 50, my father, day and night, he sits and learns, day and night. He left it all. He left everything, and he's just sitting, he's so committed to Torah. It's amazing to see. And he thought Reb Shteiman was going to be impressed. And he doesn't look impressed at all. So he tells him again, Rebbe, I'm telling you, my father, at the age of 50, the heights of his career, he's so successful. He leaves it all. And he just sits and learns day and night. The rabbi is not impressed. Reb Shteiman says to him, you keep saying that your father left it all. He had everything. And I'm telling you, he had nothing, and now he has it all. The question is, on the first 30 years of his life, his career from 20 to 50, why was he involved in nothing instead of being involved in everything? I think similarly, sometimes we hear about people who make Aliyah. And the guy comes and tells you, you know what, I left behind. Shh, I had it all. I didn't have a house. I had an estate. 15 cars. Indoor and outdoor pools. Tennis courts. I think I had 2 saunas. 15 saunas. I left it all to come to Eretz Yisrael, Mesirus Nefesh. Reb Yid, you didn't leave it all. You left the nothing. Now you have it all. Imagine about a person who sits and learns Torah in Eretz Yisrael. He has double all. So Melech Edom, Edom is me'od, is money, comes to tell you, the money is klum. Klum is the same letters as moilech, one who really is in charge. He rules, moilech, he rules over his yetzer, over his earthly desires, is the one who realizes the right prioritizations, how to use money. Use it for avodas Hashem. You have to go through Melech Cheshbon, meaning you have to leave by the wayside all the cheshbonis, all the calculations. There's a mitzvah, we rise and we challenge our yetzer hara and we beat it and we come and we do HaKadosh Baruch Hu's will. Sometimes when a person wants to come to Eretz Yisrael, it looks like a gigantic mountain. Og Melech Habasha, it's a giant! I can't. It's too challenging. Cultural differences, mentality, so different. Language barriers, it's so difficult. It looks like I'm a giant, I can't do it. You have to go through Og Melech Habashan. And if in fact you know how to prioritize your life and give the money, it's chashivutz, not here, down here. You're not worried about it. You have bitachon and emunah. You put all the cheshbonis aside and you're not afraid to challenge the giant challenges that are in front of you. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu at the end says, don't worry. Al tira, don't worry. Ki beyadcha nasati oiso, I'll let you in. You'll be able to do it. But you need to have the will. You need to have the aspirations. 2 weeks ago, thousands of buildings in Eretz Yisrael were damaged, some of them destroyed completely. Thousands. In one of the homes that a missile fell in, the building was almost about to collapse. The police come in and they say to all the residents, you have 5 minutes to evacuate. The place is going to collapse. Take whatever it is you can. Get out of here. 5 minutes. A person wants to know, what should I take? I have a library full of Sifrei Kodesh. I have Tanakh. I have Shatnstein is how many volumes? 72 volumes. I have the Mesivta. I have Shulchan Aruch. I also have my laptop. My laptop is full of Chidush Torah that I've been writing for years. What do I save? There's no time to save everything. I can do this or this. Sifrei Kodesh. By the way, I also have Sefer Torah at home. Sefer Torah. Or my laptop. It has a lot of Chidush Torah.
Sefer Torah.
Sefer Torah. Why Sefer Torah?
Because it's written on cloud. It's got Kedusha.
Kedusha.
On the other hand,
If the laptop falls, I have to kiss it? When the laptop goes, I have to put it in a Gniza? No?
there's the Kiddushin Torah cannot be reconciled.
I can buy another Shatnstein. I can buy another Sefer Torah perhaps, if you have the money. Can I replace what I wrote here for 40 years, Chidush Torah, that I wasn't zoichet to publish yet? You don't care about that. Kedusha. Kedusha overrides, you're saying?
It doesn't go to the cloud. Should be on the cloud.
What does?
The old Kedusha.
Then you don't have a shayla. He wanted to, and 5 minutes before is when it hit. It doesn't have to be 2 weeks ago with the missiles. There's a fire, unfortunately, there's a fire. And the person has to rush quickly out of the house. He has the same shayla. Do I take my laptop? You know what, let's upgrade it. It's not a laptop. He wrote in a notebook. It's not a digital thing that doesn't have Kedusha. It's Torah Sheba'al Peh. He wrote in a notebook, yes, like this notebook, so many notebooks. Do I take that first, or I take the Chumash? Chumash? No, you're not so sure anymore.
Sefer Torah is the best.
Sefer Torah. Tanakh, or my private Chidushim, which I'm not so sure how great they are. But that's my Torah that I've been toiling on. Could it be, there's an Indian here, that I'm going to remember my Torah better? I summarize all the sugyas that I learned. That means that's my understanding of the Torah. If you take that away from me, you're taking away my memory of Torah. The Torah warns us, Isham elecha pen tishkach. Don't forget the Divrei Torah. So much so that in Pirkei Avos says about a person who forgets his Torah, afraid to say, Chayav Misa. So he says, this is how I remember Torah. I look at my understanding, the sugya, summary of the sugya, that's how I remember it. More than that. You know what a person like that happens to him if you take it away from him? It takes away all the cheshek. So for what? What did I toil for 40 years? You take away his will to continue and learn. Is that good enough of a consideration?
Is that a story? Maybe it's Rabbi Yochanan later bits when he first went to Laptop-Sefer with the sort of that I was learning. He destroyed all the Mikve Torah he had written previously. Is that so? You can make bits. I think it's
Don't know, I wasn't there.
it's a story like that, but, you know.
I don't know if I can learn a story, a halacha from a story. I don't know. Unless I heard it from the person himself. You know what? Let's ask a different question. Is a fire? How's the Shalom? The people are calling from within the house. They're saying, we have to run. What should we take? We have tefillin, we have mezuzos, we have sifrei kodesh, we have golden vessels and silver vessels, we have the clothes for ourselves and for the kids. What do I take first? Tefillin. Why tefillin?
Change name.
Mezuzah doesn't have?
It's difficult. Takes time to.
So you want to stay naked for the next 10 years? You're not going to save the kids and your clothes? You'll have a Sefer Torah, but you're holding it naked. What's the aspect of bizayon that there is when you don't save the Sefer Torah? Sefer Torah is being burnt. Building's going to collapse in it, and you don't take it. It's a bizayon to the Sefer Torah. If you have 100 cash that you want to save, and you're going to take that, $200, and you're going to let the Sefer Torah be consumed in fire, that's a bizayon. But if you have thousands and thousands of cash just laying there, and you're not going to take it, who says you have to lose a lot of money on that? You're not allowed to erase Hashem's name. You're not allowed to burn a Sefer Torah, a Sefer Kodesh. But I'm not doing it. Somebody else sent the missile. I didn't set the fire. You don't have to lose all your belongings for it. Shulchan Aruch Chaisim in Tafresh Nun Vav, we learn in the Rema that one doesn't have to spend hon rav, a lot of money for the mitzvahs. This is not something that I did. Not even begama, it has nothing to do with me. So if you're going to pass by the Sefer Torah when it's burned, but you took your $50, that's a bizayon. But if you took your valuables, there's nothing wrong with that. I think first fitting. Fitting is easy. They're light, you know where they are, take it. Mezuzos only if they're very easy to take off. Some of them are going to be very difficult. But if you can just open it, take the cloth, great. But then you can take your belongings. How much more so in our shayla? Our shayla is not your valuables compared to Sifrei Kodesh. Our shayla is Kodesh and Kodesh. I have Chumashim and Tanakh and whatever it is, and I have my Divrei Torah that I wrote. It's Kodesh and Kodesh. It's Torah Shebe'al Peh, and this is Torah Shebe'chsav or Torah Shebe'al Peh. It's much easier. If I'm not supposed to, not commanded on leaving my valuables behind to save, but again, when I'm not the one who did this terrible thing, Mimele, of course, for Sifrei Kodesh, you don't have to. The one who addresses this shaila is the Aderet. The Aderet, Rebbe Eliyahu David Rabinowitz Teomi, was the chief rabbi of Yerushalayim. He passed away about 120, 125 years ago. It's a fascinating story, and every time I mention his name, I feel compelled to tell the story. Maybe I told it here, but I think it's a mitzvah. I am moved every single time I say it. Especially now that we're getting close to the 3 weeks, it's important to repeat this. The Aderet was a genius.
What was his name?
Rebbe Eliyahu Dov Rabinowitz Teoimim. For short, we call him with his acronym Aderet. He was the chief rabbi of the city of Porovich, not the yeshiva in Bnei Brak, the city in Europe. And then he was in the Mir, not in Yerushalayim, the Mir city. Reb Shmuel Salant was the chief rabbi of Yerushalayim, and he was already getting old. I think he was 92 or 93 years old, and he felt that he doesn't have the strength anymore to do it. So he asked that they should go to Europe and bring the Aderet to be the chief rabbi instead of him. They went and they convinced him to come, and he came. He was young. He was 62 years old. The Aderet was a genius. He wrote more than 120 Sfarim. Only 2 were published in his life. But the family has his writings, and many of them are being published. More than 120 Sfarim. We have a letter that the Aderet writes to his family back in Europe, from Yerushalayim. He writes to them, the people of Yerushalayim think they did me a big favor. They rented for me an apartment overlooking the Makom HaMikdash. And they don't know they are shortening my life. Because every day, when I open that curtain and I see Makom HaMikdash and its destruction, it breaks my heart. Which is so a contrast to what we do. We go to the Koisel, take pictures, look at the Koisel, he's sitting back, and all kinds of media that we have today, social media. Look at the Koisel. Every single day he saw it, and every single day he cried. And little did he know, he prophesied and he didn't know what he prophesied. He only lasted in Yerushalayim for 2 years and he died. And Reb Shmuel Salant, who invited him to be the chief rabbi instead of him, was still around and he eulogized him. So at 64 he died. So the Aderet, if anyone knows anything about Chidush Torah, it's the Aderet, who wrote 120 Sorim. He deals with the Shaila. And he says, Tzarech, what if, Mamishar Shaila, a person who wrote his Sefer, but it wasn't Tzarech to publish it. Is he talking about himself? And there was a fire. Is he supposed to save his writings or Chumash? And he says, a person who's going to lose his Chidush Torah, it's a Safek Pikuach Nefesh. Imagine, a person wrote for 20 years, and you're taking that away from him. The person is destroyed. I recently said this in our shul. A person came to me after davening, and he said, you should know my rabbi is the rabbi in South Africa. 5 years ago was a fire in the house. He lost everything, all his chidushim that he didn't publish. And it's been 5 years and he still didn't recover and he still cries about it. 5 years. Safek pikuach nefesh, he calls it. He says, if you have in your house chidushim of somebody else, I'm not so sure about that. Tzarich iyun tuva, I'm not so sure about that. Tzarich stapek halbe is his language. But your own chidushim, safek pikuach nefesh, it can destroy a person. And therefore it should come first before anything else. Then Afkamina is also for Hilchos Shabbos. Reb Shlomo Zalman Auerbach uses this, and he says, you can be metaltel outside your chidushim, because if you don't, it's a safek pikuach nefesh. Pile pile ploim. Another shaila relevant to Inyan Adeyayma. There was a family that was evacuated from the north when the whole thing erupted up north. And they were in a hotel. And Lev Achim do amazing work of Kiruv. Very, very secular family. And they registered the kids to a frum school, and the kids are flourishing. The mother, Baruch Hashem, is getting closer and closer and becoming a Balas Tshuva. The father stayed right where he is. Baruch Hashem, war in the north is over, and they go back. They go back to their house. The mother wants to put up mezuzos for the house. The husband says, no mezuzos here. It's a money-making machine of the rabbis. It doesn't do anything. She says, oh, we need protection. We're living up north. We need protection. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, affix mezuzos on your doorpost. No mezuzos. She also wants to register her kids to a frum school. He says, no, they're going back exactly to the school that they were before. I don't want this stuff. She asks, what should I do? If I can fight for one of these things, which should I prefer? Should I fight for both things? How do we look at this? You say chinuch. So you don't care that every single minute she's going to live in a house without mezuzos. Chinuch overrides everything. But she's not learning Torah and her husband is not learning Torah. Who told you that the children's Torah, when they're learning it in a different place, will protect her house? If they're learning it here, maybe I can hear you. They're learning in a different place. What's that? Can you live in a place without a mezuzah? She's going to be living there every single second, and her kids as well, every single second without a mezuzah. You don't care.
No, I care. But the other side.
How much do you care?
Is the children will become
good. And that's why I'm placing it on the scale and putting it in front of you. Shimon HaRabbi said, I didn't him tell me which one has more weight, and explain to me why.
It's not on the it's on the husband.
On the house?
On the husband.
On the husband. What about Ishto Kegufoi? V'davak be'ishto ve'ayu lebasar echad.
The woman.
The mezuzah is the woman's?
They say about how like there's like some I heard some idea.
There is a.
The woman has like
She usually has the challah.
Maybe, but in terms
Afashas challah, adlakas neiros.
I heard some.
What's that? Whoever lives there. It's a chiyuv. So what do you want to do? But you said chinuch before. But you have to put him on the scale. Chinuch has more weight. Who told you? Who told you? I need a raya.
Based on what we just said before, we said the Chidushei Torah are more important than saving them. So in this case, the Chidushei Torah of the children that we...
The Chidushei Torah was important to that individual before, because otherwise it's safek pikuach nefesh, and he's going to forget this Torah. But he wasn't comparing it to something else because of levels of kedusha. It's going to destroy him.
Life is more important than anything else. We leave a Sefer Torah in the fire to save a person, right? So in this case, we need to save the neshama of the kids, and we take the mezuzah.
I agree. Now I'll tell you why you're saying what you're saying. If you don't give the kids the right chinuch, they're going to become goyim. They're going to look like goyim. They're going to behave like goyim, and they may marry goyim. They have no connection to Torah mitzvahs. So much so that the Shulchan Aruch Orach Chaim in Siman Shin Vav, Seif Yud Daled, the Shulchan Aruch tells us that if one hears that his daughter was taken by the Ovdei Kochayim to serve Avodah Zarah, one is allowed to be Mechalel Shabbos, not a Pikuach Nefesh Ayla, a spiritual Pikuach Nefesh. You're allowed to drive on Shabbos. A mezuzah is not the obligation of the woman. It's the obligation of the man. He owns the house. Kol ma shekanta isha kana baila. Whatever she owns is his. There's no obligation on her to place it. There is an obligation on any resident in a place to live in a place where there is a mezuzah. But she's bonus. What do you want from her? More than that. Chiddush of the Mordechai in Menachos Taf Kuf Mem Daled, I believe the Beis Yosef brings in Siman Yud Gimel. We think that there's a negative commandment. Thou shalt not live in a place without a mezuzah. There's no such commandment. There is a positive commandment called affix a mezuzah on your doorpost, but there is no negative commandment saying thou shalt not live here. There's no such thing. You're nullifying an aseh every single second you're living in a place without a mezuzah, but it's not your aseh. It's the husband's aseh. It's his house. It's not yours. So she's behind us.
He needs to go to the mikveh every day.
What's that? I think more than once a day. He has to go to the mikveh a few more times. This guy thinks he's the biggest chacham in Klal Yisrael. Everybody puts a mezuzah. Even people who are secular puts a mezuzah. But he's smarter than everybody else. He has many, many problems. Not just the fact that he's secular. He has many problems, this guy. HaKadosh Baruch Hu praises Avraham Avinu. Ki yadativ. I love Avraham. Rashi says, Leshon Chiba. Leman. Because he puts mezuzahs on all his doorposts. No, that's not what it says. Leman. Asher yetzave et banav v'shamru derech Hashem. It doesn't say because he puts a mezuzah, which is great to put mezuzah, you have to. But his greatest claim to fame because he teaches his kids what to do. What does the Kodesh Baruch Hu want? Torah u'mesorah. Mimele. The woman should insist on the chinuch. First of all, because it's not just for now, it's for future generations. There is no isur to live in a place without a mezuzah, even though there is a mitzvah to put a mezuzah. And it's not her chiyuv, it's not her mitzvah, it's the mitzvah of the husband, and he chooses right now not to do it, and he forces it to be be'oinus regarding this mitzvah, and therefore mitzvahs should be prioritized. Chinuch should be prioritized. Erase that, not mezuzahs. And you edit the tape, you know what to do. Just want to finish with this. It's a well-known fact that Scottish people and English people don't get along. I don't know why. I asked some of my friends, English people, what do you have again? How does it work? And they don't know to explain it to me, but they say it's true. I don't know why. They don't get along. There was a guy from England who was traveling. He was in Scotland, and he's driving his car. And he wasn't so careful. He drove a little too fast than what he was supposed to, and he banged into the car in front of him. So he pulled to the side, and the guy is going to come out of his car, and this guy's thinking to himself, I'm in trouble. Not only did I hit him from behind, that means I'm responsible. When he finds out I'm English, I'm going to be in serious trouble. This guy comes over with a bottle of wine. And he says to him, the Scottish person comes to the person who hit him, and he says, wow, are you okay? You look startled. He says, yeah. Why don't you drink a little wine? Calm down a little. That's so nice. He pours him a glass of wine. He finishes that cup and he says to him, do you feel better now? Not really. Have another glass. He gives him more. He finishes that second glass. He says, you still look a little confused, a little, yeah. Why don't you drink a little more? He gives him another glass, and he polishes off the whole bottle. And now he walks back to his car. He says, who knows with what he's coming back. And he came back with a bottle of whiskey, bigger than the one before. He says to him, you still don't look 100%. Would you like to drink a little more? He says, yeah, that'll be great. It wasn't Purim. He gives him to drink, and he drinks. He says, you still don't look 100%. I'm really not. I'm so concerned with drink a little more. And he pours him another cup, and another. And he finishes the second bottle. Now the guy feels much better. He's much more relaxed. And he says to the guy whom he hit, the Scottish guy, so what do you suggest we do now? And the Scottish guy says, listen, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to have to call the police and have them come over as soon as possible. What you have to do is try to convince them that you're not drunk. Now, boy, this is not an invention of this guy from Scotland. This is exactly the tactic that the Yetzer Hara has been using for many, many years. He gives us from all the wines and the pleasures and the earthly desires that we have. No, take more. Then he splits, and you have to convince them, I wasn't drunk. I knew what I was doing. Shh. Especially now after the war. They let us drink from this beverage called We're so successful. The planning, the execution, remarkable. We are so good. This wine is very intoxicating. Make sure you don't drink from it. En oid milvadoi. Every single day. In Shachas we daven and we say HaKadosh Baruch Hu, He is Baal Milchamos. Only Him. Don't drink from this wine and definitely don't get intoxicated. En oid milvadoi. Acheinu kol Beis Yisrael nesuni b'tzar ובשביה, האוהבים תימן בים ובין ביבשה. המקום ירחם עליהם ויוציא מצר לבוכם אפילו יורם משיבות לגאולה אשתו בעגולו בזמן קורי ואינו ימר אמן.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.